Hi guys, Zangiefsgym here. I am Timothy and you are watching video 7.1 on my series of how to fight Zeku with Zangief. This is 7.1. This is the video to SPD punish Zeku's special attack, which is called Bushin Gram Koku. It'll be in the video title if you forget, okay? You can just look at that. That's the name of the attack. I made sure I got that in the title so you guys could look this up. You can look at the move list. It's a quarter circle forward with a kick button. Zeku has, of course, 4 variations, light kick all the way through EX variations. I'm going to cover the SPD punish here. Can we SPD punish it? The answer, upfront answer is yes. Yes, we can. Okay, so it does vary though in how we do it based upon which version he's doing. Okay. This is the light kick version. Alright, so if we're close enough, we can do the hard punch SPD as a counter if we block it. Because you can see how he's struggling to recover there. It takes a little bit for him to recover. Oops. So there's enough time to SPD, whether it's hard punch, medium punch, light punch. Okay, so that's SPDable, all versions. If you are having to be further away when he does the kick initially and you do block it, just go ahead and do the light punch variation. At least you still get it if you're far away from him. That's just a SPD 101 training right there. If you're close, you can do the hard punch, and that's ideal because when you finish landing, you'll be closer to your opponent. But if you're knocked back away from him and you're not very close and you still want to punish this with an SPD, you can go ahead and do that with the light punch if you're within, you know, somewhat reasonable range. But if you're close, go ahead and do the hard punch because that's ideal. Alright, I've got him set for the medium kick version, which goes further. Makes it a little bit harder to get in there, right? This is where light punch is going to be more so necessary. Now I can be nice and close, so of course I can do the hard punch version. So again, that's just a matter of how close you are. But if you're out here, not quite that close, but if you're, let's say out here, yeah, let's be realistic. Say he whipped it out right off the bat, right? He does move. The cool thing is he does move a little closer to us as we block it. You might have to block it a couple times. Block, walk in, block. Okay. Block it, walk in, block, walk in, block. Work your way in. But I know. I can hear everybody already. Well, he's not going to constantly do that. That's probably true. It's probably true. So just, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But either way, if you're in a reasonable position where you can at least light SPD him, maybe you can also just do that. That's what I would say to someone who would say, well, you can't light SPD that because you can't get in there. Well, first of all, you can jump in. But besides that, you can hit him like that, and then you can come in, right? You know, if we get the crush counter on the hard punch, standing hard punch, if we get the crush counter, we can dash in, double tap forward, dash in, SPD him. But anyway, if we do this attack and we're in a good range, we can do either the hard and medium if we're close. If we're not close and we block it, because you know, if we're further away, we can do the light punch SPD. And what I would say about that is we're not always going to be in ideal position in all realism. However, we're also not always going to be far away, because if we are, then he might not be doing those close versions in the first place. He's likely going to do the hard kick if we're far away from him, and that's the one we're going to cover now. Okay, so same principle. Let's say we are on the outside. What are we going to do here? Well, obviously we have to dash in at some point, guys. If we're going to SPD him, we can't do that out here. Everybody knows that, right? So, of course, he's spamming, right? He's not doing anything. He's just spamming one attack. The important thing is we know that when we are in good range, we can punish, we can block this, and he can't recover in time to hit us with something else. Now, I tried this initially before I actually showed you guys the video here. I recorded off the camera me doing this, and I found that if I added in like a light kick, it was really hard because sometimes he'd throw the light kick out and it would knock us back. But anyway, I decided to leave the extra attacks off of it. But we definitely can punish this move with the SPD. Okay. Now the EX version, this is a different story. I was going to say it was about the EX version. I'm uncertain about the EX. Unless we're close enough, we can stop him from throwing out another version of this EX all over again. We can SPD in between. His recovery is way faster though, and we do get hit a couple of times instead of once. So this is one we're going to be a little bit more careful with. Be really precise with the SPD, because you can see if I make the slightest mistake, I won't be able to punish it. So I can't make a single mistake with the EX because his recovery is so much faster. So that's important to know. It is SPD punishable. I recorded him with a light kick. And the biggest thing I found was only when I slightly messed up he was able to kick me. The other thing I found, now this is a standing light kick, Zeku's standing light kick. When I recorded this a special attack with the standing light kick as a follow-up move, I found that if I was this close to him, if I did not do that perfect, like literally super fast input and super fast SPD, I would find that he would end up kicking me and then I wouldn't get the SPD. So just be aware of that. However, the standing light kick is one of his quickest moves. We've seen that from how fast he whips it out. Okay, let's just take a look at that, right? This is how fast that is. So if he does the, let's just record that actually so you guys can see. Oops, not quite as fast as he's capable of. Okay, okay. So that's really, really fast. Now we'll put that on playback. And you guys can see, he can kick us in time, but generally what I find is if I'm fast enough I can get him, but even if not, I'm outside of his range. I can light SPD and he won't be able to kick. So you could almost see there that he didn't even have time to kick. See, we can SPD him. But the tricky part is because he's throwing the kick out in there, he's knocking us back with the kick. So we're pretty much forced to have to light SPD. But you can see that we can still get the SPD before he does the standing light kick. That means this special attack of Zeku is highly punishable. The only thing I would add is again that the EX version does have the fastest recovery, it seems, and seems to be rightfully so. And we saw that because he almost threw out the EX right after that before I even had a chance to SPD him. You guys saw me when I was doing that on slot 4. So you can still punish him with the SPD on the EX, but you need to be close enough to actually do it, and then you need to be pretty quick with the SPD. So I'm not saying it won't be tricky, I'm just saying it's possible. So just be aware of that. But if you block this attack, you will be able to SPD it. One last time, guys. There we go. Yeah, so if you block it, you can SPD it. So that's important to know. And last comment I would make is that lots of times you're going to probably end up with the light version of the SPD because you probably won't be next to him when you're blocking the kick, as he may tend to do it more when you're out here a little bit away from him. So you're more than likely going to have to go with the light SPD. And I would say, I didn't want to drag the video out this long, but just in closing, I would say if you did happen to get out here and you can't go in, do the standing strong punch as a counter hit and then SPD him. And they might have to work on that. You might not get that the first time. That might be a little bit based on timing. But if you can't get the SPD after you block his kick, you may be forced to have to do the standing strong punch as a counter hit and then dash in for the SPD. Of course, that does assume though, right? That does assume he was going to throw this out a second time. But still, you know, he's going to likely punch, kick, do something anyway, likely, or jump anyway, which in that case, this move has enough of a, you know, enough of a recovery time that you would be able to do the standing strong anyway. So you could dash in SPD, but you might get that once in a while too, where it doesn't crush counter, it just makes him go, oh, and then he goes right back to trying to do the kick again. So, you know, just be aware that this isn't, you know, this isn't always going to work perfectly. You're definitely going to have to tweak it a little bit. But for the most part, if he's just doing that kick and you are near him and you block it, you will be able to SPD. That's pretty much the takeaway. Guys, thanks so much for your patience for watching this video. I hope it helps you to punish Zeku with the SPD. Take care.